So Kevin, let's just race on to a few other topics. Content delivery networks, CDNs. What's your view on those?
I mean, in favor.
Useful.
Yeah, they're very useful. It's pretty amazing now that these companies like Cloudflare have locations virtually everywhere on the globe and can deliver your webpage to a user on the other side of the world in a jungle, within milliseconds, versus the old system of I make a request anywhere in the world and it has to go all the way to my hosting company and back, and maybe back and forth a few times to load all the assets. So being able to do that, even if we have to send the first request all the way to the hosting company where it generates a page, the HTML gets sent, the CDNs, should have all the images and everything, so that at least that second hop is much quicker. And what's even more impressive to me is these CDN companies are not staying what we think of as a traditional CDN. I don't know how much you've looked at things like Cloudflare Workers. I probably should disclose that I do have shares in Cloudflare and really like the tech that they do and think they're pushing the edge on that quite a bit. And it's impressive to see things like Workers, where it used to be CDNs were just kind of dumb nodes at the edge. Now they're giving developers the power to actually compute on there, and I think they've come up with some storage as well, like almost database-like functionality, so you can start executing more and more complicated code at the edge too, not just serving an image and delivering that faster. So it's really impressive, and I don't think we've seen that leveraged in WordPress yet at any meaningful scale. Have you seen that?
I haven't, but one of the iterations of our own custom CDN that we're looking at and evaluating is that the CDN will act as an origin server optional choice for the user. So I think at the moment we have something like about 36 endpoints around the world. So an iteration of that would be wherever you are closest to any of those 36 endpoints, that can be an origin server location. And the rest of the CDN network just works as a normal CDN for your site visitors from elsewhere. So I think the key thing there for us is just about flexibility for the user. Rather than the traditional model, which is what we have at the moment, which is 3 origin server locations, which is Chicago, London, and Sydney. That to me doesn't offer enough flexibility. So we're always thinking, what more can we get out of our CDN network? Because we can do whatever we want with it. It's our own thing, which is great. We've just got to have the ideas in the first place, and then they need to be, from a dev point of view, technically executable. So we're working on a lot of that stuff, but also in backups, like additional backup security. We're evaluating a whole lot of options in that area. So like you say, CDN has much more potential than just the old-fashioned way of doing it.
I'm not going to say worry. If I were Amazon or somebody, I might worry, because some of these CDN companies, and I'm specifically still thinking of Cloudflare, are looking at the hosting companies and are starting to look more like one. Once you've added the ability to execute code on the CDN, then you've added a database. We're nearly at this point where if I'm running my servers on Amazon, I might start looking, depending on what I'm building, you might be able to build almost completely on Cloudflare and not that far. And if that were true, it could be running in, 200 locations across the world where each one of them is acting like an origin, potentially.
Yeah.
And that could be pretty game changing. So if the CDN market is being pushed that direction and with that sort of flexibility, it's going to be an interesting future. And I think WordPress is going to be pretty slow to adopt this outside of maybe some very high-end custom work, like from some of the agencies. But if it does happen that way, like I see it looks like it's trending towards, eventually that will probably trickle down into WordPress as well. And maybe you guys with your own CDN figure out how to leverage something like that, or
we have a lot of
one
ideas.
of the bigger CDN players is also, if WordPress still 50% of the market, I am sure there'll be some innovation there.
The way we look at it, Kevin, is it's more like outcome as a service. So you want a certain outcome, just like with Canva that we talked about earlier. It's the outcome that you want as the user. How you actually get there doesn't matter that much. If it's fast, if it's efficient and gives you the outcome with the flexibility you want, then that's really what matters.
Yeah, and that's why I don't see it coming to WordPress anytime soon, is these workers and edge compute stuff that a lot of the CDN companies are doing. That's very much in the heavy developer world. And it's going to start there, and it's going to be the tech companies doing custom stuff to start. But if it works out and the model works, it'll slowly come.
Okay, Kevin, next hot topic, caching. Some people say it's cheating if you're using caching. Some people say it's not cheating, it's optimization and it's efficient. Where do you stand on caching?
I would cache absolutely everything under the sun if I could. The only time it might be considered cheating is if you're delivering the wrong thing. So what I mean by that is, let's say I have a member site and a user logs in, user A logs in, they get their dashboard and whatever and can do what they need. And then user B comes and logs in, but you serve the same page for user A. That would be kind of problematic because they might be seeing cached artifacts of user A's, personal information or something like that, or it's not being customized. So if Facebook cached everything, everyone might get the same feed of mostly random strangers unless you happen to be the lucky person who logged in first. So for the most part, caching, you should cache as much as possible or make sense. But
totally agree.
Cheating would only really count in more of a testing scenario. And I've had companies in the benchmarks. I don't want to say they were cheating. I think what I would say is the caching was too aggressive, and notice things like, the user pages seem to be cached. So that the wrong user, it was just caching like the WP admin page. So it would show whatever user first. And things like that can be caught and, be told, your caching is too aggressive. You need to make sure that, these kind of pages don't do that.